You ever meet someone who doesn't just play the game but practically rewrites the rulebook? Not someone fumbling into the spotlight, but someone so calculating, so sharp that every move feels like it's been rehearsed 10 times over. That's Meghan Markle. People talk. And, oh, do they talk about Meghan? But what if I told you the whispers aren't just about Hollywood deals, royal drama, or Netflix cameras? What if I told you Meghan's strategy went deeper than fame, deeper than titles, right into the bloodstream of the monarchy itself? Because here's the shocking claim. Meghan didn't just dream of being royal, she allegedly dreamed of creating royalty. Not with Harry. No. The real fantasy? It was with his older brother, Prince William, the heir, the future king of England. Let that sink in. While the world thought Meghan was falling head over heels for Harry's ginger charm and rebel spirit, insiders claim that was just a convenient distraction. The real prize, the one she allegedly wanted, was something far darker, far more ambitious. A child. Not just any child, but a son with William, the ultimate heir. And if that doesn't sound like a script straight out of Game of Thrones, buckle up. Because this isn't about love, it's about legacy. Picture this. Harry, the man who gave it all up, his military career, his titles, his family, his country, every ounce of the identity he was born with, all sacrificed for Meghan. He fought the press, he challenged the institution, he stood against his own blood. But what if, after all that, he wasn't even Meghan's first choice? What if he was never the one? What if he was? Plan B. Because if these rumors are true, Harry wasn't the fairy tale prince Meghan always wanted. He was the spare, in every sense of the word, a stepping stone, the temporary placeholder until she could reach for something greater. William, the heir. Imagine being Harry, realizing the woman you defended, the woman you turned your world upside down for, may have secretly wanted your brother all along, not for love, but for the crown growing inside his bloodline. That isn't heartbreak, that's humiliation. Let's not sugarcoat it. If these whispers hold truth, Meghan wasn't just playing a short game, she was allegedly working on a royal blueprint, one designed to rewrite history itself. Because think about it, Harry's children, adorable as they are, will never sit on the throne. That destiny belongs to William's line. Meghan knew that, which is why the fantasy allegedly wasn't about being Harry's wife, it was about birthing the crown itself. A boy with William, that wouldn't just be a royal baby, that would be the royal baby. A living heir, the future king of England, the most powerful bloodline in the world, and Meghan at the center of it. Cold? Absolutely, but strategic? Beyond belief. And then there's Kate Middleton, the real wife, the real partner, the woman who has stood by William's side, raising the next generation of royals without tantrums, without tell-all interviews, without Netflix documentaries. Always graceful, always composed. While Meghan was out branding herself as the misunderstood Duchess, Kate was doing the quiet, steady work of shaping the monarchy's future. But imagine Kate hearing whispers that Meghan once fantasized about being her, literally living her life, her husband, her children, her crown. This isn't rivalry, this is obsession. And the cruelest part? Meghan once publicly painted Kate as cold, as unsupportive, but behind closed doors she may have wanted nothing more than to be Kate. Here's what makes the whole thing even more gut-wrenching. This wasn't some silly fantasy from Meghan's 20s. This wasn't before Harry, before the tiaras, before the wedding bells. These alleged confessions came after it all. After the wedding, after the Oprah interview, after the privacy please statements, the Spotify deals, the Netflix specials. She was already Harry's wife, already the Duchess, already holding the world's attention. And yet, reportedly, she still whispered to close friends that William and William's child was the real dream. That's not just a betrayal, that's a dagger. Think of the layers here. To Harry, the man who gave up everything. To Kate, the woman raising the heirs. To William, the future king. To the monarchy, the institution she claimed destroyed her peace. If this is true, Meghan didn't just betray them, she outmaneuvered them. She turned love into a chess move, family into a strategy, children into weapons of legacy. And that's why this story doesn't feel like gossip. It feels like Shakespearean tragedy, except this one's playing out on front pages and streaming platforms for the whole world to see. Now here's where it cuts the deepest. Harry believed he was building something real with Meghan. He walked away from centuries of tradition, a kingdom at his fingertips, because he thought he was protecting his wife and his family. But if these rumors are true, he wasn't building love. He was building a fortress for someone who already had her eyes on another kingdom entirely. And you can see it. Look at Harry's eyes in photos. That haunted, uncertain look. The smile that never quite reaches his face anymore. That's not just stress. That's realization. The dawning horror that maybe, just maybe, he was never enough. When Meghan first told the world she had found her prince, the narrative was picture perfect. The fairy tale wedding, the emotional interviews, the curated photos with soft golden filters. She sold the dream of love conquering the cold institution of the monarchy. But if these private confessions are true, that fairy tale was written in invisible ink. Because behind the smiles and the vows, there may have been a much darker script playing out. One where Harry was simply a gateway, a placeholder, the brother you choose until you can't have the one you really want. And that's the part that makes the world's jaw drop. Meghan didn't just allegedly admit this to herself, she shared it with friends. She let the mask slip, and those whispers have now grown into a storm. Now let's pause for a second and talk about William, the man at the center of this fantasy. He's not perfect, no royal is, but he has always been seen as the steady hand, the one groomed for the throne, the man who shoulders the weight of the monarchy without blinking. For Meghan to even imagine inserting herself into his bloodline wasn't just risky, it was explosive, because William isn't just a husband, he's the heir, the crown, the very heartbeat of the royal legacy. And if Meghan really wanted his child, specifically a son, then we're not just talking about messy family drama. We're talking about an attempted rewrite of the entire royal line of succession, a fantasy so bold it borders on treasonous. Let's be real, the royal family has survived scandal before. Affairs, divorces, leaked tapes, even Diana's bombshells. But this is different. Because this isn't about scandalous behavior or tabloid drama. This is about the DNA of the monarchy itself, the bloodline, the very system that keeps the crown intact. If Meghan had somehow managed to make that fantasy real, the line of succession could have been thrown into chaos. One child, one boy, and history itself would have been altered forever. Imagine the palace scrambling to contain that. Imagine the press. Imagine the chaos. It's the kind of scandal that doesn't just make headlines, it changes textbooks. Through all of this, Kate has done what she always does: remain silent. Grace under fire. No retaliation, no tell-alls, no sly digs in interviews. But behind the scenes, imagine her pain. Imagine knowing the same woman who once made her cry, then publicly humiliated her by calling her cold on international television, was fantasizing about being her, not just envying her life, but allegedly coveting her marriage, her children, her crown. That's not competition, that's possession. And yet Kate hasn't cracked. She still smiles for the cameras, still raises her children with dignity, still holds the title of future queen with unshakable composure. If Meghan is the storm, Kate is the anchor, and the contrast between them has never been starker. And then there's Harry, the man trapped in the middle of this storm. What can he even say? If he denies the rumors, it makes him look blind, like a husband desperate to defend the indefensible. If he admits them, the entire foundation of his marriage collapses in front of the world. So he does what he always does. He stays quiet. He smiles for the cameras. He holds Meghan's hand. He pretends the roof isn't caving in, but the truth shows in the cracks, in the weight on his shoulders, in the way his once carefree grin has turned into something hollow, something forced. Harry may have thought he was protecting Meghan from the palace, but what if the real danger was already sitting at his side? People used to think Meghan only wanted fame, but fame fades. Fame is temporary. Fame can be taken away with a bad headline or a failed Netflix deal. No, what Meghan allegedly wanted was permanence. A legacy carved in stone. And in her mind, that legacy couldn't come from being the wife of the spare. She wanted something bigger, eternal, a child destined for the throne. That's why this fantasy feels so chilling. Because it wasn't about romance or rebellion or even revenge. It was about power. Pure, unfiltered power. The kind that survives scandals, outlasts headlines, and etches your name into history forever. And that's why this rumor has shaken people so deeply, because if true, it reveals an ambition colder, sharper, and more dangerous than anyone ever imagined. Think back on everything Meghan has done since leaving the palace. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentaries, the Spotify podcasts, the staged photos of family bliss. At the time, they looked heartfelt, vulnerable, relatable. But now, under the shadow of this alleged confession, people are asking, were they ever real? Or were they carefully staged illusions? Tools in a larger strategy to control the narrative, while the real fantasy played out behind closed doors. Because once you know someone allegedly dreamed about swapping her husband for his brother, it's hard to see anything else the same way again. And this is where it all comes crashing down. Meghan's alleged ambition didn't just break hearts. It broke trust. It shook the very foundations of the monarchy. It blurred the lines between family drama and institutional crisis. Because let's be honest, every family has drama. Every marriage has its cracks. But this was never just about Harry and Meghan. This was about the royal line, the monarchy itself. The idea that someone could walk in, charm the world, marry the wrong brother, and then secretly plot a future with the heir, that's not gossip. That's a threat, and the palace knows it. The firm may stay silent, but they're not blind. They know exactly what these whispers mean. And that's why Meghan, no matter how many interviews she does, no matter how many deals she signs, will always be watched under a microscope. Because now every move looks suspicious, every smile looks staged, every word looks like strategy. And what about Harry, the man who gave it all up, the man who thought he was saving his wife? Now he's left with a nightmare. If he stays, he lives under the shadow of a wife who may have secretly wanted his brother. If he leaves, he confirms everything and destroys whatever's left of their public image. There's no winning move, just silence, just endurance. Just the slow, crushing realization that the woman he thought was his soulmate may have been playing a completely different game all along. And that's the cruelest twist of all. Meghan wanted to rewrite history. She wanted to create a legacy so permanent that no scandal could erase it. But instead, she may have rewritten her own story, not as the brave duchess who fought against tradition, but as the woman who allegedly tried to infiltrate the monarchy's bloodline through the wrong brother. History won't remember her as the underdog. History will remember her as the schemer, the woman who tried to bend destiny itself and failed. Because in the end, you can't fake bloodlines. You can't script the crown. And no matter how many cameras you face or how many interviews you give, destiny doesn't bend for ambition. Meghan once said she wanted peace, but peace was never the goal. Power was. And in chasing that power, she may have lost the only kingdom she ever really had, Harry's heart. The crown denied her fantasy, but it left Harry with a nightmare. And now, the entire world is watching to see what happens next. Because once the mask slips, it never fits the same again. And Meghan Markle's mask may never come back on. This wasn't just a love story gone wrong. This was a royal scandal for the ages, one that turned a fairy tale into a tragedy and exposed just how far one woman may have been willing to go for a crown that could never be hers.